Politics. We all certainly know it, and love it when it suits us. Politics is a necessary function of human organisation that can inspire the masses to cooperate and partake in the collective LARP that we call civilization. But most of the time, politics is a mentally draining race to the bottom with the levers of power always attracting some of the most pathologically evil dimwits that could possibly walk this earth. But occasionally, a nutter gets into politics. Someone who clearly has so little respect for the system of government that you wonder why the hell they got involved in it in the first place. But you are always glad that they did, because they are my favourite kind of government employee. The ones who simply do not care and will mess with and harass the system as much as they possibly can, but from the inside. Very much to the extreme annoyance of all of their colleagues. Eric Mays. Please leave a like and a comment on this video because it really helps me in the algorithm. Yeah, I've got aura. How could you tell? Is it the knife edge of my jawline? Is it the hypermasculine pheromones that I'm giving off at all times? Or is it the fact that you cannot find any data to corroborate the fact? Because again, I have today's sponsor, Aura. You see, after having my business email signed up for one weird dating service too many by a self-reporting audience, my personal data was scattered to the winds, gobbled up by all sorts of malevolent data brokers looking to sell it off to scammers, marketers, and even stalkers for billions. You'd think that the data protection laws would prevent this, but the problem is that the initiative is on you to make data brokers remove your data. Therefore, they make the process as obtuse and tedious as they can in a bid to either make you give up or to keep the grift of going for as long as possible until they legally have to delete your data. Fortunately, Aura adds a hefty dose of stubbornness by stepping in and toughing out the whole process to the bitter end, getting your data out of hands that aren't yours, and keeping it out. And it's also proactive. With 24/7 monitoring, Aura will alert you if any of your data is found on the dark web. And it offers further protection with tools like a password manager and an antivirus. But sadly, no protection is 100% foolproof, so Aura has US fraud experts on standby 24/7, and it provides $5 million of identity theft insurance in the event that your information does get out. It is the extra layer of protection in case the worst happens. So, if you want the full spectrum of online data protection all in one place, then visit aura.com/Dankula or click the link in the description box down below to try Aura for 2 weeks for free and discover where your personal data is being taken and sold. September 16th, 1958, in the diverse city of Flint, Michigan, we see the birth of young Eric. There's, frankly, not much known about his life, but don't worry about the lack of an early life section. He's black, so we're good. Eric managed to not only graduate from high school, but also get a bachelor's degree from MSU, before getting a job at fucking General Motors, no less, even becoming involved with his local unions. He was a real upstanding guy. Yeah, bet you all feel real bad about typecasting him now, don't you? Then, in 1987, he was convicted of felony assault for brandishing a revolver and threatening the life of some guy that he claimed had previously broken into his house. Whether or not that was true didn't matter, because he was sentenced to a year of probation and his prospects for attending law school were dead in the water. But at least he still had his NAACP membership. Speaking of which, starting in 1981, Mays had started attending city council meetings on behalf of the NAACP. resulting in him lingering around for long enough that in 2012 he was able to finally take part in some public hearings. And let's just say he very, very quickly gained something of a reputation.
I want order. Y'all want to talk business or some other shit? I'm just getting tired of it.
Indeed, Eric was rather eccentric, raising the bore and tedium of the city council to something far, far more entertaining than it had any right to be. However, this great entertainment value often came at the cost of hindering the actual function of the council. No, you didn't mishear me. Apparently the council are meant to actually do stuff. The first instance of this occurred when on July the 2nd there was a public hearing on proposed tax abatements for buildings in Flint's downtown. Quite mundane stuff, which was made a lot less so when Eric was scolded for going over his allotted time when he was speaking. He then got given extra time. Then he kept talking until he went over the extra extended limit again. This resulted in him refusing to get back in his seat, and he ended up getting escorted out of the building in fucking handcuffs. This, as you will come to learn, was a very, very common outcome for dear Eric.
Esteemed Attorney Millhouse. It shouldn't have been no I'm gonna let you speak. You should have called Mr. Millhouse up just like you called Mr. Newsom up for Miss Worthy.
That's what I'm talking about.
Upon being escorted out of the building, he was issued a fine for disrupting a meeting of a public body, which is a misdemeanor. Upon the start of the subsequent trial, Eric decided to represent himself in the courtroom. He was found guilty and he was forced to pay his aforementioned fine alongside court fees, which totalled $425. Despite this, Eric kept showing up to council meetings undeterred. All of the members of the council and everyone else in the building absolutely fucking hated him for harassing the absolute shit out of all of them and disrupting all of their meetings. Then, to their absolute dismay, in November of 2013, after 3 attempts, Eric Mays got elected to the fucking council. Finally giving Flint, Michigan, the leader that it deserves.
From the ACLU to the NAACP to a good civil rights attorney, and this practice will stop. I'm elected. I have the right to speak and represent over 8,000 folks. When you heard me, you heard the people I represent.
Then, on the 30th of the very same month that he was elected, Eric Mays was arrested for drunk driving and possession of marijuana. All while having no proof of insurance, refusing to be fingerprinted, and failing to report an accident. For context, at 2 a.m, Eric Mays allegedly got into a minor car crash with his Chevy Impala. Of course it was a fucking Impala. But anyway, the front axle of the Impala was completely destroyed. He then just kept driving down the wrong side of the road with 4 flat tyres. The police later found him whilst he was trying to change and fix all of his tyres. Despite the fact that it was about 2 or 3 a.m. and nobody was present to witness said acts, Eric freely admitted that he had in fact done those things. This instant admission actually managed to work in his favour because in June of 2014, the jury initially decided to acquit and lessen a few of his charges. Except, a higher court actually overturned such motions due to the judge handling the case evidently not warning Eric of the risks of self-representation. Because, of course, he fucking represented himself again. Eric, while absolutely moulding, requested a retrial due to the judge supposedly mistreating him. This was granted. So, when the retrial came around in November of 2015, Eric once again represented himself and immediately started causing issues in the courtroom. He started by going around the jurors asking each of them if they believed in God, whilst also saying that he himself believed in God. This resulted in a mistrial request being forwarded by the prosecution due to the prosecutor objecting to this line of questioning because it could somehow make them look as if they were anti-God. But this objection was overruled. Skipping a bunch of trial shenanigans because I don't care, Eric was convicted in November of 2015 and sentenced in January of 2016 to 28 days in prison. Eric argued that this was all a grand conspiracy to keep him down and to stop him from talking about that one particular issue that was facing the city. Speaking of which, Flint, Michigan is not just known for its proud automotive pedigree. It's also known for its water, which was internationally recognised for being enriched with minerals and fucking lead. This naturally resulted in the council having plenty of things to bicker about whilst the adults actually tried to sort it. And smack dab right in the middle of all of this was Eric Mays. The Flint water crisis was actually a lot of people's first introduction to Eric Mays.
Point of order. I'm sorry, Councilman Mays, your mic is, your breathing is... No, that's Councilman Mays' mic.
No, it ain't.
And credit where credit's due, because Eric was among the first people to actually start complaining about this issue, facing real and tangible pushback from other officials who were refusing to look into it. He ended up taking his concerns to Facebook to make public his desires to have the city council properly investigate this cursed water. To which both the city and even state officials responded that the water was totally safe and there was no need for an investigation. Shows how trustworthy they were. And this was with the added heat of Eric running for mayor of the city, which he would have won if not for the fact that 176 of the signatures in his favour were invalidated, due to being cast by people who either couldn't legally vote or lived outside of the city. Meaning that he was just 43 votes short of a victory. The fucker got this close to being able to maybe do something actually important. But despite all of that, he kept yapping. And then, on July the 8th, 2015, when he and two others were hosting a finance committee on the city's grass cutting, they got removed from the event by the police, because once again, Eric was acting belligerent. Because despite not actually being a part of the committee, he took it upon himself to complain about how the city was seemingly refusing to cut the grass in his ward, whilst being readily available for other wards. And that somehow the city had $22,000 to spend on prosecuting him, but somehow didn't have the money to cut his community's grass. Alongside veering off topic to complain about his drink driving arrest. You know, some real serious stuff. He even showed off his camouflage capabilities in said grass, and as you can see, he basically turns invisible. This resulted in Eric once again getting more and more annoying, to the point that he ended up getting Councilwoman Monica Galloway to read him the city's disorderly conduct ordinance like a Karen. This didn't really do anything though. So she then got him escorted off of the premises by the police. This seemingly resulted in Eric really not liking Monica.
Miss Galloway, you gonna catch holy heck trying to attack me politically in a public arena. People looking, I guarantee you, After I finish this business and in the middle of it, I will circle back on your personal attack.
Though it was initially without arrest, the officials present were seemingly that arse-mad about Brother Eric shitting up their meeting that they sought charges after reviewing the footage, resulting in an arrest warrant being issued for Eric and yet another trial commencing over Eric. The trial lasted for 3 days and, shocker, resulted in him being found guilty on February the 1st, 2016. Though he was due to face 90 days in jail, the prosecutors decided that a $200 fine would suffice. But, in order to pay the fine, Eric pawned his government-issued laptop for $100. 2 days later, Councillor Scott Kincaid filed a criminal complaint over this due to the quite evident misuse of taxpayer-funded equipment. Eric responded by claiming that the laptop was actually safer in the pawn shop because, and I quote, "the City Hall has had break-ins." A truly magnificent defence, if ever I've seen one. Naturally, an investigation occurred. Said investigation found that Eric had actually pawned the laptop on 9 separate occasions, and every single time he pussied out and reclaimed it. His argument in defence of his actions was not to deny or downplay it. His gambit was much more unorthodox. He simply responded, "I don't think it shows I'm a criminal. I think it shows that I'm broke." Another absolute masterclass in ironclad defence. Understandably, Eric Mays pled no contest, and when he was sentenced on the 27th of November 2017, he was ordered to pay $300 and attend a week-long work detail. It's honestly impressive how this guy just seems to constantly get put before a judge, then convicted of his crimes, yet consistently just gets the lightest of slaps on the wrist. Well, I suppose there are perks to being a government official. And from there, Eric just kept doing his thing, loosely interspersing serious statesmanship amongst entertainingly childish shit-talking.
And Eva, you can move closer with that phone, Miss Worthy, and Facebook and text me. Because that's what we did when you were asleep, snoring. Just crazy.
But you playing on your phone?
No, I'm not playing on my phone. I'm taking care of business. I'm not studying what you're talking about.
I know you ain't studying.
Okay, then don't attack me. Miss Fields is nasty. You nasty. You's a nasty woman.
Point of order.
What's your point?
Point of order.
Point of order. It should be one hand up, you, Miss Fields. And so now this is what I'm going to say. But Miss Fields, you out of order. You ain't got the flow.
I do have a
Okay, well, let me say this. Since you want to say I do have a flow, you talking like black folks now being funny? Rules say that when you do, you can be warned and removed. Now, he who laughs last, laughs best. And if you want to laugh, here go a clown outfit for you. If you want to put this on and clown, it's ready for you. Because when you clown, I'm a double clown. This ain't going to happen under my watch. Now, it might happen under her and Monica, but it ain't going to happen under my watch.
Unsurprisingly, he lost his position as Vice President and Finance Chair of the committee, due to, well, being him. For context, in January of 2019, he lost his finance chair. Big whoop. But what's actually important is when a year later, on the 21st of January 2020, Eric Mays and his seeming arch-nemesis Monica Galloway got into a spat during a standard council meeting due to Eric once again speaking over Monica. Upon reprimanding Eric, he then proceeded to liken the council president to a certain Austrian statesman. And then Eric mockingly did a certain salute that my lawyer has informed me I'm not allowed to do anymore. Within a week, the councillors were all scrambling to get him removed, having Eric Mays once more being escorted away by the police before voting 6-0 and stripping him of all of his roles. All the while, Eric was apparently shouting in protest whilst being led out of the building by the police. One can only imagine the emotions that were running through Eric as he was stripped of all of his hard-earned titles and betrayed. Truly harrowing. And the Orwellian censorship didn't end there, because just 2 months later, he had a month-long gag order in place for being disruptive. And he was removed from Zoom calls the second he dared to voice his opinion, which was usually just him, diplomatically mind you, calling everyone else in the call retarded.
Vote is 4 yes, 2 no.
4 yes, 2 no. I would say that the appeal wins, but we need to fix our council rules. So
Point of order.
I'm leaving, Mr. Mays. You can talk to Mr. Davis if you want, and I don't know if you have quorum. Good evening.
Right, if the appeal failed, then you know it. You just as slimy as they come. Slimy as they come. Yeah, slimy and wrong as they come. You and the others wrong as 2 left shoes. So leave. Greg said he was already gone. Just as slimy as they come.
Bye.
Eric won in the end, however, because on November the 25th, 2021, he managed to become president of the Flint City Council by receiving the majority of the council votes. And yes, that does include himself. Truly, the world always sets itself right in the end. But on the 25th of April 2022, Eric was arrested again. This time for refusing to leave a meeting whilst being his usual self by swearing. He preemptively asked for himself to be excused from the meeting right as there were calls to remove him. Then he fucked off just to come back 10 minutes later and do all the exact same shit again. Another vote amongst the council occurred, and once again Eric was stripped of all of his titles in a 6-0 vote. Eric was then brought before another trial, and of course he was found guilty, and he was slapped with 6 months of probation and a $125 fine. Just above the laptop threshold, so he was sure to feel it. With Eric Mays keeping himself busy by running for mayor again and losing again. I think you get the picture by now. This guy was a complete arsehole in the best possible way. And due to the fact that he was getting on in years, it should come as no surprise that on the 24th of February 2024, Eric Mays was stripped of his life in a 6-0 vote and escorted off of this mortal coil by the Archangels at the ripe young age of 65. Despite the obvious bickering and presumed hatred that the man had accrued over the many, many years of his service, the entire community came out in solidarity for one of their biggest eccentrics, with the flag in Flint City Hall being lowered to half-mast, and even the mayor himself coming out to offer his condolences. Now, why the fuck did I make this video? Well, simply put, I just saw compilations of this guy online and thought he was fucking hilarious. Anyone that frustrates the government process is okay in my book. But of course, he wasn't just funny. He also did his job admirably and rightfully hounded the government down about the water problem when nobody else would. But that's a story for another time. I just mainly focused on this funny, kooky, eccentric guy being really, really funny and pissing off government employees. I just wanted to do something short, snappy, and fun to contrast some of the longer, more serious shit that I've got in the pipeline. To be fair, I'm just really, really jealous. Why can't we get a politician who is something straight out of a South Park skit?
It's Count Dankula on YouTube. Everybody just subscribe.